Welcome to the live stream. Sorry, we're running a little bit late today, but we wanted to talk about the questions continue. So if you have any questions regarding real estate, regarding investing, make sure you send it in. This is Andrew Holmes from Burr Cashflow Investors. And having said that, let's get started. So if you have not invited your family, your friends, your other colleagues in terms of being a part of the group, make sure you do so, because for when you do that, every single time we give away a prize for two. So we do a drawing for everybody that is either a part of the group, or if you invite a bunch of people, and your chances of winning go up, because if you invite 10 people, they're a part of the group. The best part is it doesn't cost anything, and there's no pitch for anything. It's just information as it relates to real estate investing in today's market. So this time the prize is tickets for two on the tickets for two up to $2,000 in value. So having said that, let's get started. As we talk about this, the questions today that came in, and this was question number one. When analyzing a deal, how much consideration do you give on potential future cash flow versus immediate cash flow as a result of current interest rates, right? So let's just understand what the question is. The question was, when analyzing a deal, how much consideration are you going to give? So let's say today the interest rate is 7.5%, right? That's what generally commercial loans are going for today. And now, I think 3 years from now, let's say, well, I think the cash flow is going to go down, right? That's why I'm going to buy a property. So does that make sense, or does that not make sense? So in my opinion, you always underwrite the deal based on today's interest rates, right? Now, here's something I want to caution you. So remember this basic rule of thumb. Good news, you should always double it, right? Excuse me, I take that, I said backwards. Bad news, you should think about it as doubling it. Good news, you half it. Meaning, what do I mean by that? So we've all been, for the last 2-3 years, we were in a place where it was like, oh my God, price is going up. Oh my God, price is going up. Oh my God, price is going up. You temper it a little bit, right? Whenever you buy something, because you're trying to be cautious. Same thing. When it's bad news, so if they say, by bad news, I don't mean they say, oh my God, the interest rate may go down. That doesn't mean you stop buying. What it means is you just become more careful with your numbers. So the rule is, good news, you half it, meaning you don't get overly exuberant, overly excited. And bad news, good news, you half it. Bad news, you double it. So bad, you double, and good, you half. Meaning what you're trying to do is this. You're always trying to be more cautious, right? So how that works is this, and this will come back to what the question is, that if I'm going to buy a property today and I'm going into a market which is going to be a winter market. Let's say I'm buying a property in July, August. Well, guess what? The next market's coming. The market's going to be a winter market, right? So in winter market, I'm not going to be able to sell the property. So I'm going to assume I'm selling it for less. See, if you're always a little bit more conservative, then what will happen is, even if things don't go your way, you're still going to come out the winner. Now, if things do go your way, right, then guess what's going to happen? You're just going to make way more money. So that's how that kind of works. And that's important to understand that's how that works. So in this case, whenever I'm buying a property, so let's say I'm buying a property, and hypothetically today is January 1st, 2020. So if I'm buying a property, well, what are the interest rates on an investment property? They're actually 5% or so. Now, if I can buy that property, and let's say every single month I'm going to have $600 cash flow every single month, based on buying a property at 5% interest rate, and I lock the interest rate for the next 30 years, then I'm going to underwrite, or I'm going to analyze the property based on where things are at that time. That's just kind of how it is, right? So based on where things are, that's how I'm going to underwrite the property. And that's something important for everybody to understand and for everybody to realize. Now, if today the interest rates, as we speak, right, we're what, April 10th, right, 2023. April 10th, 2023, today the commercial interest rates are 7.5%. So if they are 7.5%, and that's the interest rate today, then guess what I'm going to do? Then I'm going to base it on that if the rate is 7.5% today, then I'm going to base my deals on what is it today. Because I don't know, I may think, well, maybe the interest rates are going up. Or, well, maybe the interest rates are going to go down, right? If I think the interest rates are going to go down, do I know for sure? No. So why am I going to underwrite a deal or analyze a deal based on interest rates going down? Now, if the interest rates go down and you're buying a multi-unit property, well, guess what happens, right? Your property is worth actually a lot more because the cost of capital is a lot less. People are going to be much more exuberant. People are buying a 2-unit, 3-unit property. They're going to pay more for the property. That will automatically happen. But you can't say, hey, in the future, I'm going to grow taller. Hence, today, I'm going to buy a shirt that is 2 sizes too big. Well, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to go any taller. If I was a child, you could probably do that. He's going to catch up with the size because kids grow so quickly. That's very different. But if you're a grown man, you can't say that because you don't know. And with an economy and with interest rates, you don't know. You may have an opinion, but you do not know. So you always underwrite the property based on today. Now, if you do that, you're a person who says, well, I think the interest rates are going to come down. And then I'm going to buy the property, meaning I'm overpaying for the property because I think the interest rates are going to come down. If that's what you're doing, you can choose to do that. I just do not think that is good investing. I think that is poor investing, right? That's just what it is. That's a really poor way to invest. So I would not do that because what you're doing is you're playing a game of kind of, Russian roulette. And I think that is a poor way to invest. So you always underwrite the deal. You always analyze the deal based on today's interest rates. And if you're going to keep the property for a long term, then if you can lock in a 30-year interest rate, you do that because it's at a lower rate. Now, if you're buying a property today, could you say, well, I'm going to take a 5-year balloon, right? I'm going to take a 7-year balloon, because I'm hoping that the interest rates are going to go down. My cash flow will go up. At that time, I'm going to be doing a refinance. And then my cash flow right now is only $600. Then it's going to go up to $800, $900. It's great. That is called strategically smart, right? But to say that, hey, I'm buying a property that really doesn't make sense based on today's numbers, that is not smart. I know there's a temptation. We all get tempted from time to time to do that, but that is not the right thing to do. Now, the next thing, retail inventory is lacking good inventory and is seeing some buyers compete again and offering prices above asking price. Are you seeing the same effect on investment inventory we would normally pursue at discounts? Any uptick on what any uptick or I guess any opinion on what you might be paying for homes? Are you getting less of a discount? So I think this is all across the board, right? That there are some properties, for example, that I bought November, December, and January that I got some really, really good discounts on. There's some other properties that I genuinely feel maybe, I paid maybe 10 or 15,000, 20,000 more, right? And guys, listen, if you are a real estate investor, right, and if you're in this for the long term, there's nobody who has bought 100, 200, 400, 500 properties over a time. See, it's very easy to prevent mistakes when you're doing onesies or twosies, right? When you're doing large volume, at some point, you're going to buy a property a little bit higher. Perfect example, last year I bought a property in Melrose Park. It was Melrose Park, Franklin Park, one of those parks. Beautiful 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, nice little ranch. I love those things because they rent out like hotcakes, right? And guess what? I got nice property, nice people that were there, older folks that were selling the property, off-market deal. We found on a mailing campaign. And guess what? I got talked into, and I talked myself into it, right? I can't blame somebody else. I paid $200,000 for the property. Now, after $30,000 in work, the property appraisal only came back at $280,000. Right? So I'm in the property for $230,000, $240,000 if you look at my carrying cost and all that stuff. Do I really have much equity in the property? Right? Not by my standards at all. I don't like it. I knew at the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe I'm a little overpaying for the property, because ideally, generally, I would not want to pay more than $160,000 for that property. But it's a nice little brick ranch. I love the street. It's we own hundreds of those types of properties, and I just got swayed because I was trying to force the market. So this happens from time to time. We've all done it where we pay a little bit more. The only difference today is that I'm willing to admit it. See, there was a time in my life where I would not want to hide. See, what is a fool? A fool is somebody who makes a mistake and then tries to cover it. What is a smart person? A smart person is a person, or wisdom is something that if you make a mistake, you're like, okay, why did I make a mistake? Was it just something I was not thinking something right? Was it that I was being reckless? What was it that happened? What was the state of my mind in which I made that mistake, right? My state of mind was I wanted to buy at that time. And I was doing a lot of marketing. We're trying all these new things, doing a lot of TV advertising, a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, in 2 months, we're going to kick up the amount of houses I buy. And in trying to force that to happen, I bought a couple of properties that, quite honestly, they're great properties, mind you, but the numbers are not where they should be. That's basically what it boils down to, is that, and that's going to happen. Now, having said that, November, December, January, there were 2 or 3 properties that I picked up. They're incredibly good numbers. Really, really, really good numbers. See, what happens is this. A lot of times when people come into real estate, they come to, say, Mastery, or they show up at the 3-day, you listen to something like this, you get all fired up. And then you're like, oh my God, I am ready to go. And I can't find a deal in the next 2 days. So then, there's no deals. I can't do this. Andrew, this doesn't work. Or number 2, I'm gung-ho and I'm going to force a deal to happen. And then they buy something. See, what we're doing is that just because you're excited doesn't mean the market is ready to present you a deal. With real estate, what you have to do is you have to be everywhere all the time, be ready for it. And when it comes, boom, you got to jump. If you're forcing the market, right? If you're going to buy real estate based on your time frame, guess what's going to happen? You're going to force the market. Anytime anybody has ever tried to force a market, be it Zillow, be it when Redfin was doing it, when something like Blackstone came in, IH2, what they were doing was, oh my God, in Chicago market, you have $50 million. You got to buy this many houses. The real estate, the agents who were working for them, they didn't care. They're like, hey man, this is your quote unquote buy box. Just buy. Good, bad, indifferent, we're going to make it fit. Because every property you guys buy, I'm going to make a commission. That was what was going on. That is called forcing a market, right? You're just saying, oh my God, I got too much money. I got too much money to burn, and boom. You force the market and you make a mistake. And I have done it, trust me. And I am supposed to know better. See, we all know something that we should be doing. The problem becomes is, can you actually do it, right? Wisdom is that one thing, which is that you know what to do, and then you're able to say, no, I'm not going to buy, I'm going to wait. And a good investor is that. Somebody who's able to make those wise calls over and over. But believe me, right? I'm the first one to admit that at times you get too motivated, too excited, you force the market, and you're going to buy a property at the wrong number. So this is going on. It's not like it's not going on as we speak, right? If you look at what happened in the wholesale market last year, wholesalers were really, really, really in trouble in the last quarter last year because they had a huge marketing budget. They'd been doing really well because a lot of people were buying all these wholesale deals. And suddenly the market switched because the interest rates went up. So suddenly the buyers were like, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to buy. The wholesalers will go, 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 go. Their marketing runs 60 to 90 days behind time. Right? Meaning, if I'm doing marketing today, I'm not going to see results tomorrow. It's going to be 30, 60, 90 days. Right? And because of that particular reason, what happened was that a lot of wholesalers were stuck with inventory they could not move. Now that has come back a little bit because, well, this is the new normal. The interest rates are a little bit higher. So what I'm trying to say is this, that both in the retail market, if you look at the retail market is kind of divided into a couple of different sectors. One, you have the retail market in areas where most of the properties are selling at 3.5%, right? Meaning they're being bought with FHA loans. People who are buying purely with FHA loans. If you have 80, 85%, 90%, 95% in markets, those are generally going to be C markets, C minus markets. Those markets have taken a toll. And those properties are sitting on the market a lot longer, right? So an example of that would be a market. I'll give you an example. So South Holland is a great market, actually. It's a very highly desirable area in general. But if you look at, it's taking longer to sell properties in South Holland. I mean, that was one of the hottest flipping areas for the last 4 or 5 years. But yet this year, right, I had a property that's been sitting twice. It's got under contract and it's in perfect condition. And guess what? Buyer get cold feet. Oh my God, my payment is coming a little bit high because the interest rates, and this is going to happen. You look at Dalton, a lot of properties, rehabbed properties have been sitting. Now, the rental market's still strong there, mind you, right? But properties, if you're thinking about a flip, because there are so many properties and people start getting desperate, they're going to keep lowering their price and they're going to sell those properties. And then you're going to be like, oh my God, I was supposed to sell it for 200. Now I'm at 195, I'm at 190, I'm at 185. Right? Now, if you look at it on the other extreme in the Chicago market, if you look at the Napervilles of the world, guess what? They're selling, right? And they're selling pretty quickly. Why? Because there's not as much inventory and people who were employed had money, still have money, right? So it's going to depend on what market you're in. If you look at the Florida market, in the Florida market, we had a huge hurricane. Yesterday, I was in Florida, a huge hurricane there. 2.5 years ago, when we went there, 2 years ago, I should say, I was trying to buy 3-bedroom, 1.5 baths ranch. Couldn't find anything with a lot of equity, right? Today, because the hurricane, there's a lot of damage still that exists in a lot of these counties. And there are a lot of good quality properties to be had, but guess what's happening, right? Guess what's happening? These are built in areas where they may be, the floodplain may be higher, so you have flood insurance now. You're going to have to pay $3,000, $4,000 a year in flood insurance. Now you have to fix up the property because the homeowner didn't have insurance, so they're just walking away from the properties. There's termite damage because these properties were built in the 80s, and every property that is older, in a lot of cases, is going to have termite damage because termites are so active because of the hot weather. So there you can find some opportunities. But if you look at new construction duplexes, new construction triplexes, I mean, they're hotter than hot, right? Even on the new construction single families, the prices have gotten a little bit tempered. So what I'm trying to say is this, that there are differences that are happening, but there are cracks in the market. And that's where you can make money buying properties in those cracks. We're still finding great properties, but just right now, still the competition is high, right? That's just how it is, that there's still a lot of money on the street. And because of that, you have to do more digging to find properties. Hopefully that makes sense. The next question, number 3, was new investors worry about financing properties that have more rehab needs. Is there a recommendation of new investors to stay within X dollars of rehab in order to have a better chance to secure private money lending or hard money funds? Okay, so don't do one need more than $30,000 for rehab or everybody feels okay. So basically the question is that for new investors, right? The worry is, should I be doing rehabs that are huge? Number one, you should not at all whatsoever, period. In fact, even experienced investors, you should avoid big, huge rehabs, because if you're doing $120,000, $130,000 rehab, right, that's going to be 6-8 months. You're going to have to pull full set of permits, probably. You're going to have to do a lot of work in that particular case. So that is what it is, right? So what you have to think about is that, does that serve your purpose? Does that make any sense? Because if I'm going to do a $120,000 rehab, right, on a property, let's say I bought a property for 200, I'm going to do 120 in rehab. I need to make 130, 140 on that property, because I can't be doing $130,000 in rehab and only make $60,000 or $70,000. That makes no sense. That's like saying, hey, I make the same amount of money if I work 1 week, or I make the same amount of money if I work 6 weeks, right? That makes no sense. In a week, if you made a certain amount of money, right, you might say, oh my God, that's great, right? But for 6 weeks, that sucks. My hourly wage is really, really low, because it's 6 weeks worth of work, right? It's the same exact way with rehabs, because the bigger the project, generally what we're seeing is a project which is somewhere around 40,000 to 60,000, 70,000 in today's market. And I'm talking about in the Chicago market, right? If you're looking at the Florida market, the numbers are actually fairly the same. Somewhere around, 40,000 to 60,000 in a market which is south of Sarasota, some of those types of markets, because in Florida, you have large swings. As Naples is certainly not the same as Charlotte County, right? So it depends on where you are. But generally, if it is somewhere between 40 to 60, somewhere in that ballpark, generally, if you're borrowing money from a private money lender, especially from Mastery, right, you're generally going to have a much easier time. You go to a private money lender, says, oh my God, I'm buying the property 150, I'm going to do 130 in rehab. Can you give me the funds, right? Well, they have the money, but they're going to be a bit scared, because they're like, I'm not really sure, because I don't know if you can handle a $130,000 rehab. I don't want to have my money tied in a deal that's going to be that much work. So that is something that you really have to think about. So whoever asked this question, thank you for asking this question, because I think it's a very good question. Now, does the hard money lender care? Generally, a hard money lender, as long as the numbers work, if the rehab is 60,000, if the rehab is 150,000, generally, they're not going to care. I'm saying generally, right? They're not going to care. So this is something that you have to think about, that in general, they will not care if it is 60 or if it's 130, as long as you have the wherewithals, you can show enough reserves. A hard money lender just looks at numbers. A private money lender within Mastery is going to look at our opinion, because they're going to say, hey, should I be lending to this person? Are they really capable of doing $100,000 rehab, $130,000 rehab? So $30,000 today in terms of rehab, I think is on the very, very low side, right? So realistically, about 35 to about 60, 70, that's kind of the sweet spot, because the property that you're going to be buying is somewhere going to be between, say, 120 to 200, somewhere in that ballpark, and then those numbers work. You start getting much more than $70,000. Now the private money lenders may be like, well, I don't know. I don't feel very comfortable with lending out that kind of money on a rehab, because if that rehab goes sideways, then my money is at jeopardy. Now, if you have your own private money lenders that not from Mastery, that are outside, right? Maybe they will do that for you, right? I obviously have relations with people that if I said to them that, hey, I'm going to do $150,000 rehab, first they'll look at me, Andrew, really? Right? Because that's not what we teach. That's not what we do in our own businesses, right? Unless we're doing new construction in Florida, but those are templated houses. Boring, templated 3-bedroom, 2-bath properties, right? Because I don't want to do anything exciting. So that is different. That we're not borrowing private money for. But generally, because I have a history and they know I'm good for it, because my neck is on the line and I have a lot more to lose, so that's fine for me to get it. But generally, if you are somebody that is newer, probably you're going to have a hard time within Mastery getting that, because even we're going to be a bit gun shy, saying, no, it's okay for you to go ahead and give this person that kind of money. So those are some things. So it's great questions. I really, really appreciate that. This will be different for everybody, but if you ranked someone as a successful, this is a great question. So let me read this. So this will be different for everyone. But if you rank someone a successful freshman, sophomore, senior investor, what would you look at as a freshman? What would you look at as a freshman equals 1 to 2 holds or fix and flips and wholesales. This will help motivate people to achieve a certain success if there was a metric for themselves, right? And this is a great question. So freshman, so senior would be 12th grade, junior would be 11th grade, 10th grade, and 9th grade, right? So, okay. So what is a freshman in real estate? It depends, right? What your definition is. To me, if you're doing flips, if you're doing wholesales, you're a freshman. This is it. If you've done 30 flips, good for you. You're a great freshman. You're a superstar when it comes to freshmen. You're still a freshman. If you've done wholesales, 5, 10, 15, 20, 60, 100, you're still a freshman. You're extremely good, extremely skilled. You're a freshman as far as I'm concerned. And here's why I say that, guys. And I say this with all due respect and all the sincerity in the world. I haven't, and maybe you know somebody that is out there that has wholesaled their way into millions. I don't know them, right? I know people who do millions of dollars in total revenue with wholesales. I know people that have made $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year doing net income. I'm talking about doing flips. I just don't know multimillionaires that have made that kind of money consistently because of flipping or because of wholesaling, right? That's why I would call that person a freshman, meaning they are in the business. And in freshman, you can be a freshman who has done one deal. You could be a freshman in, you're not really kind of up the ladder that has done many, many deals. That means you have exceptional amount of skills. I challenge you, if you are that person that has done a lot of successful wholesales, that has done a lot of successful flips, I challenge you that you can go to the next level, right, by being a sophomore. And that is by buying rental properties. By buying rental properties, midterms, and Airbnbs, which is those are going to be longer term holds, meaning you're not doing a quick in and out transaction. If you want to build wealth, you have graduated to that level. If you're starting to work on it. Now, you may have 1 or 2 or 3 properties, but to me, a definition of somebody who's a sophomore, as far as if we're going to grade this, is somebody who has 5 houses, right? You see 2, 5, 7, that's 2 properties, 5 years, pay them off in 7, right? That's called 257 cash flow for life, right? By the way, we got a bunch of these t-shirts made. We got a bunch of, I don't know where the sweatshirts went and where the caps are. We got tons of merch, right? So if you're here for the RIA meeting or mastery meeting, we will have them and you can pick them up. They'll be fairly nominally priced, and we're going to start giving those away. From the next show on, we're going to start giving those away, and I'll tell you how you guys can win those. And we will start giving merch away, but we thought it would be fun to get some professional looking gear made for 257. But as far as the sophomore, I would say somebody who is at 5 properties is definitely a sophomore. Now, what your cash flow is, according to me, should be somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 if you have 5 properties. That's net cash flow a month, right? That I would call a sophomore, because guess what it's going to do? It's going to set you up towards a retirement income, right? So that's your sophomore. What is the next thing is a junior, right? What's a junior? To me, a junior is somebody that is somewhere around that has already reached $5,000 to $7,000 in net cash flow income. Net. We're not talking about gross. We're talking about net cash flow income. And I want to put a caveat to it. That income cannot be from Airbnbs. And I'll explain why. Right? Because it's easy. You can do 2 or 3 Airbnbs and boom, have 6,000, 7,000 coming in net a month, right? We're doing it. But the problem is this. What if the village changes the rules? What if suddenly the Airbnbs goes down? What if suddenly something happens? See, that doesn't happen for nice long-term rentals. So we have to qualify that statement. If you have $5,000 to $7,000 coming in every single month, that to me, you are in that phase where you are a legitimate junior. What does that mean? That means you have $60,000 to $80,000 in net cash flow income for the year, right? That puts you in that category where you are a legitimate, you're kind of your junior year before you become a senior. To me, a senior, as far as I'm concerned, is somebody who has consistency of $10,000 in income net a month from long-term rentals. See, at that point, you're in a place where you could live most of the parts of the country. Most, I didn't say all, but most of the parts of the country. And if you're a reasonable human being, you can live a pretty decent quality of life. You're not going to be rich by any means, but you're going to have your time and you're going to have your freedom, because $10,000 comes in every single month, and you're not having to chase that because you have good quality properties, good cash flow, and this is based on long-term income. So that's how I would categorize it. Anything more than that is, right, you're doing really, really well. Because what is success? Success is a progressive realization for your goal. I don't know about you, but once I got to about 3,000 net a month, I thought that I was pretty good. You know why? Because I had never had $3,000 that came in every single month, because without me running on a treadmill, right? Today, with about 100,000 plus, it's a game, right? Now the next goal is from 115 to go to 225 a month, right? But does that really make any difference? No, because I can't spend your money, you can't spend mine, right? So, but this was a great question that somebody asked, whether you're a freshman. So remember, we categorize a freshman based on if you're just running on a treadmill. If you're running on a treadmill and you may be you may be an absolute, right? A great runner, a great sprinter, or you may be a great long distance runner where you just run and run and run. But guys, guess what? One day that treadmill is going to break or you're going to tire out. That's just a fact of life, right? What you want to be is that person that just doesn't run on a treadmill, but owns treadmills that other people run on. To me, that is what makes you a sophomore. You become more, you have more treadmills that other people running on it. That's what makes you a junior. And that is what certainly makes you a senior. This is Andrew Holmes. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, have your friends join Burr Cash Flow. And we are always here to answer your questions. And we will talk to you on Wednesday, same place and same time. Talk to you soon.